How does the decision process work at QU? They basically check against the DA, the Development Application Approval Conditions, cross-check to make sure that, yes, the developer has lodged his application to comply with those conditions. If they haven't complied, then they'll send back that letter at the start that we had here, and they'll tick the resubmission box and they'll send it back to us and say they have not yet achieved compliance with the certificate of connection process. So that automatically triggers us to send an information request to the applicant to say certificate of connection has been denied by QEU, please contact QEU to arrange details to get it resolved. If that takes 3 weeks, 6 weeks for them to organise that, the plans will sit there and not be released until we get that information back and the confirmation from QEU to move forward. So you can see this sort of stuff, a lot of developments, it's going to take a lot of developers to get used to this because they used to start the jobs 3 months in, they'd say, oh, we'll lodge the application for the new sewer connection. So they're going to have to do this before they even start the job. So it's a change on their end, and you guys will start asking the questions when they say, oh, well, we'll just get the plans. Have you done the sewer connection? Have you lodged it with QEU? Have you done the water meter connection with QEU as well? To try and make sure you're getting that process lodged as quickly as possible. So we avoid delays, and that's what we want to see. So how do we work on our end? We receive the certificate back from QEU. If they've approved it, then we approve the plans if there's no other defects attached to it. And basically we get confirmation from QEU that the development applications conditions are fulfilled. This is standard development application conditions. The one on the left is about a sewer design, basically saying the property has to get a new sewer design of 150 connection with Queensland Energy Utilities, and also the water meter design as well. This is a bit of an internal process that was developed as a consequence of the Act changes between Brisbane City Council and Queensland Energy Utilities. We went through the process on how we're going to do certificate connection. A lot of plumbers in the room will be doing domestic houses. They have what we call blanket approval, so they don't have to go through this process at all. They've given us the power to say we automatically grant certificate of connection. There are some exemptions to that. For example, if complicating factors, you might say, what are complicating factors? Well, it's a combined drain, easement that requires alteration, recycled water supply to the property, or trade waste discharge. It's very rare you see trade waste on a commercial property, but any of those complicating factors, we have to refer to QU to get their approval to issue certificate connection. But the majority of the applications, brand new brick home in a urban development, the certificate connection is a blanket approval already done. So it's not going to delay 99% of our domestic applications. We've got the classes of buildings. Basically we've got 2 to 9, the classes of buildings that it's going to affect. And what it's going to look like when you have the stamped approved drawings from BCC, you'll have all your approved stamps and you'll have this stamp on it as well. And this is for commercial plans. It will say Brisbane City Council, Queensland Utilities, Certificate of Connection. From now on, if you've got plans to release and cancel and you don't have that on it, hit the panic button, because it means that someone's not submitted the plans properly to cancel because the certificate of connection process has not been followed. That has to be on every single plan that we issue from Brisbane City Council for commercial applications from now on. So just keep that in mind. And I know a lot of plumbers that do domestic work, it's not really going to affect you, but if you're doing commercial work, you have to be across this because it will potentially be delayed. We've got several plumbers that have called this week saying that they want to start the job, they can't get the plans released because the sewage connections and the water meters connections haven't been lodged with QEU. So it's really going to start to emphasise that you have to start planning projects in advance, and if you're talking to builders, sitting down builders giving quotes, that's the time to turn around and say, have you lodged your sewer design and your water meter design, so it's not going to delay the approvals. Okay, and that's basically it. It's pretty short and simple. One last thing. We've had a process in council where we're getting a lot of reflux valves installed. The reflux valve is a non-return valve. Due to the floods, Queensland Energy Utilities have highlighted a lot of properties that they want a reflux valve installed. What happened with the floods is that a lot of their infrastructure got severely damaged, and also because of the infrastructure getting flooded, surcharges happened in properties that weren't initially affected by the flood, but they were affected by a sewage surcharge. So to protect their asset and protect their interests down the track, they've highlighted about 300 properties in Brisbane, and this is the first stage, that they want a reflux valve installed. Now what we've agreed with Queensland Utilities, we come up with this form. It's a simple form to be filled out. You put the owner's name or the tenant's name on it. plumbing application number, if applicable. If you don't know that and you're just lodging it this time, leave that blank, we'll put that on for you. And then you just have the unit, street number, suburb. Also, this form is a sort of double form. It covers for a pump as well. In the past, because of issues we've had to have two letters, one from the designer or the plumber saying the reason why they want to install a pump or reflux valve, and then another letter from the owner saying they're aware of the maintenance and upkeep of the pump or the reflux valve. With this form, they just tick the box, sign it down the bottom, and we don't need the two letters anymore, which has been a bit of grief for everyone involved. So it's a lot more simple process, easy to go. You will, 9 times out of 10, if you submit this form for a pump or reflux valve, you'll get approval. There is that small percentage where we look at it and we have to refer it to QU and see if they'll accept it. So you just got to be aware of that. So with this form, it's a simplified process of that whole system. And if you're putting in a reflux valve, the question's been asked, how deep can I install the reflux valve? If it's a metre deep, there are a couple of manufacturers that do have risers that can be put on the top of their reflux valves with a bolted screw cap, and they do have devices that you can actually put down there and lift up the reflux valve itself. We'll accept it a metre deep if you've got one of those risers with a bolted screw cap on it. If it's deeper than a metre, we want it in a chamber. Okay, so it has to be in an access chamber, which obviously you guys would allow for cost with that. There's no given rule saying that you have to put a reflux valve at the property connection point, which is normally about 2 metres deep. You can bring it up near the house, no problems at all. If it still protects the house, QU are happy with that. That might mean that it's only 400 millimetres deep instead of 2 metres at the connection. QU are not turning around saying we want every single one of these at the connection. They're saying as long as you protected the property. So if you've got a house drain coming in 20 metres to the property and you can do it near the house and it still protects the whole house and it's only 400 millimetres deep, we'd be encouraged you to go down that path. The other question's been asked, it's less than a metre, you're going to be cutting in a valve that's about 400 mils in diameter, do you need to put it under test? We've agreed that if it's in a chamber situation, you're talking on a larger scale, 9 times out of 10 we want to see that put under test. If it's a metre deep and in a domestic situation, we're happy for you just to put that in and don't put it on the test. It's 2 joints that we're looking at. QU are happy with the fact that they'll probably take ownership of these assets down the track. So they've agreed that if in those situations in domestic properties that they'll accept it without being tested. Okay, so that is a bit of exemption out of the Act that we're going through there, but that's what the Council's prepared to do to help all these flood affected properties to keep the process and the cost down. Has anyone got any questions that they'd like to ask in relation to that at all? Yep?
Eddie, one of the things that really pisses me off is Queensland Utilities.
Yeah.
A bunch of thieving bastards. And if we want to get true competition out there, we need to be able to change the system where we're allowed to do our own cut-ins, sewage connections and water mains, because these grubs, and that's all you can describe them as, what they do is they actually load up the live sewer work to the extent that they cross-subsidise. Mm-hmm. I had one just recently at Graceville, and what they did then, they charged the owner something like $1,485. And this is at the end of the sewer, so you couldn't say it's a live sewer. To knock out a biscuit and connect put a position in for a connection. They charged $1,485 to do that. The rest of the job, which was 8.5 metres of, and for some ridiculous reason, I still can't to this day work it out, it was over a metre of colour. They wanted it done in K12 cast iron, and people in the room that have done these jobs and know how expensive it is, and then of course put in an occupancy. When I went out there, because the owner, I didn't get the job, I just said the owner can't do the price. But all because they cross-subsidised it. Now they've either got to stop this cross-subsidisation, or they've got to open it up to allow other people, other contractors, in to be able to do this work, because it's just an absolute rule. And the blokes that are doing the work, and I watched this particular guy do it, he didn't put bedding sand under it at the time, he blocked it up on hunks of wood, he didn't put any donkey dig over it, he didn't do anything right, and didn't barricade it, which I would have had to know to have it inspected, and then just backfilled it and walked away. And his attitude is, well, it belongs to Queensland Urban Utilities and they've got to maintain it. Well, excuse me, I'm a bloody ratepayer, and I'm paying my rates for these dicks to be able to go and do that sort of thing. And it's got to change, mate.
Look, I agree with you there, Bill. You're not going to get an argument from me on that one. Some of the costs I've seen for live sewer works, you shake your head. But unfortunately, the current legislation allows it to happen. So really, you've got to lobby Chris and take the issue up with building codes and see if they can get pressure on the legislation to be changed, because that's the only way it will change if the legislation gets changed. I will say that Queensland Urban Utilities are in a bit of disarray, and they're quite happy for me to say that, because they are. They're quite overwhelmed with the floods at the moment. Consequently, if someone's wants them to do a sewer design, you're better off, and they would encourage you to go to a private registered practice engineer to get that work done, because you'll get it done quicker, and 9 times out of 10 you get it done cheaper. So, it's sad thing to say, but unfortunately that's where they are. And Queensland Urban Utilities would probably be one of the better water service providers at the moment. I don't know if anyone's dealt with others. They're definitely not as far advanced, but it is difficult for local governments, because we're trying to assist and help them progress. But it's a clear case of just clearly overwhelmed. Yeah. Any other questions? All good? Too easy. Thank you.
Thanks, Eddie. I'm sure there will be questions when people get fired up shortly. And we might also get some comments from you about some of the issues about the recent flooding as well. But just before we do that, the final speaker is Anthony Cronin from APA Group. Anthony, do you have a background? No? All you. Over to Anthony.